Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community and neighborhoods. And now from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
What I really love about this community is the smallness of it. There is a camaraderie and a closeness and a knittedness in this community that I just love with regard to parents and their families being close together, doing life together, growing together with one focus of a soul and a mind and a heart and a body bearing the image of God well. In pursuit of that, right, and becoming that human being, bearing the image of God, I want to see wisdom, I want to see skill, and I want to see virtue. Wisdom in the sense of a correct and accurate understanding of the way things are and their capacity to live well in it. In the context of skill, that their hands and their feet and their minds and their hearts are developed to do beautiful things, to touch the world in a way that makes it flourish with life. And then thirdly, in virtue, that they manifest and they live out the life of Christ.
We're all here because we have a passion and a love for participating in the sanctification of young people. Definitely from the faculty to the staff and to the families, there is a unity of vision. We all want to see our children grow up in the admonition of the Lord. We want to see them become people who love God above all else. That immediately unites us in purpose.
You know, our number one goal is to teach them to love the Lord. So I love that about this school, and I love that we get to shepherd these children's hearts and to mold their minds to be successful. If they know truth, and if we're speaking and teaching truth to them day in and day out, when they become older and as they grow, if they have that instilled into them, then we're setting them up for success.
One of the things we like to talk about here at SCCS is a culture of gratitude. And this is something I know Mr. Cook has talked about and others have talked about. How do we cultivate a culture of gratitude? And to me, that's the antidote, right, for a culture of resentment and repudiation that seems to be so widespread these days. Everybody's resenting and repudiating, but we're trying to do something constructive. And we're trying to say, there's a lot of good. Look, this is beautiful. This is true. Let's delve into this. And so we're doing something else here, and I'm happy to be part of that something else.
Good morning and welcome to the talk show All Things Moore County. Just by virtue of the fact that we have had the Sandhills Classical Christian School on as a guest in the past numerous times, it seems like every time we have them come back to visit, they have a lot of growth to talk about. It's a very exciting school, and every time they come in, their conversation is so fresh. If my math is correct, the Sandhills Classical Christian School, which was founded in 1999, is celebrating their 25th anniversary. But I think the growth in the last 5 to 7 years has been meteoric. It's just been crazy. We're being joined today by 3 guests. Dell Cook, who is the head of the school and a past guest. Shanna Browning, who is the dean of the preschool. And Elizabeth Griffin, who is the dean of the lower school. And Dell, there's always so much to catch up with you on.
Right.
I can't say that about everyone that comes in 4 or 5 times in the course of 2 or 3 years. But exciting things are happening at the school right now.
They certainly are. It's been a great, I'd say 5 years. I'm in my 5th year at Sandhills Classical Christian School. Remember,
seems like just yesterday.
It was just yesterday that myself and Jean came in to
That's right.
Introduce ourselves, I suppose. And so it's been a busy 5 years with a lot of growth, a lot of building, a lot of development in our own personal or our own school's mission and vision to provide an excellent classical education to students in pre-K through 12, grounded in a biblical worldview, and so I think the highlight would probably be the numerical growth that we've seen over the last 5 years. I believe when I just came on board in June of 2020, the school had finished its, I guess at that point, 21st year of operation or 20th year of operation, and K through 12, it was about 177 students and another 140 or 50 in the preschool. And at present this year, we opened the doors in the K through 12 school at about 490 students K to 12 and another 145 in the preschool. So a significant growth of folk coming over our threshold.
Back in 2019, I think that number was about 380, or
Right.
just under 400.
Right.
So
yeah.
now you're at
Around 650 all told from pre-K to 12.
Yeah, it's no small coincidence that all the growth that you've seen in the last 5 years, I'll go back 7 years, also is in line with the demographics that continue to change as we get more and more young families with children.
Certainly is.
And from our real estate view, number one priority sometimes is not the home,
Right.
it's the school. It's
Correct.
for the children.
Yes, we certainly get inquiries from around the country,
Right.
folks that are considering and looking at a move to Moore County through various avenues, whether it be work or the military, or maybe sometimes even retirement. Grandparents that are coming into this area and have children they want to bring with them, and so they have inquiries to that effect as well. And so we're seeing, the benefits, right? I think it's a good thing, as an area receives folks from around the country.
Yeah. The one observation, I can make as a layman, from my perspective, is every time I meet some of the students from your school, I'm always taken by their discipline, how courteous they are, how articulate they are, and how much eye contact they make. I was a public school. I think I barely got through. And I look today, and it just seems like the students are so accountable. So there's something going on there that is festering down to the kids.
I hope so, and I think it would be fair to say that we believe that you set a high standard for a student, or for anyone for that matter, that people rise to that, and students and children especially. And so we try, again, all the way at 3-year-old, all the way up to 18-year-olds, to put a vision for what a human being looks like and can be, and all that contributes to that, from the standpoint of their demeanor and how they carry themselves, to the words they use, and the articulation of an idea well articulated is a beautiful thing. The process of a young man holding a door for a young lady, a young man or young lady, when we do a thing in I've coached the football team at the school, and our tradition and protocol, once the game is over, the teams will line up and go through and shake hands for sportsmanship, and we try to leverage that in a different way, to where our players take their helmets off. They're in their left hand, and the constant refrain is shake with your right hand, look them in the eye, and say good game, to treat another person well, with dignity, as an image bearer of God.
Right. I want to introduce Shanna Browning. Shanna, you've been with the school since 2010.
Yeah, I'm starting my 15th year at the school.
So you have a perspective, unlike many others, where you see where it started. It was on Pennsylvania Avenue?
Sure. I actually started when we were in the church on PD Road. So I started out as a 3-year-old teacher in the basement in a little small classroom.
Was that the church on PD and 22?
Yes. Yes, the Presbyterian church there, yes.
Okay.
So I started there, did 3 years there, and then the year I took this position, we moved to Pennsylvania Avenue.
And you're the dean of preschool?
Yes.
Tell me what that entails.
So I pretty much oversee all of the preschool, the staff, the curriculum, the families, working with the families, enrolling with my assistant Allison. So we oversee our 2 campuses, and we're just a little well-oiled machine that runs out there.
So as the dean of preschool, you also have an event coming up on the 30th of October. You want to tell us a little bit?
Kindergarten Coffee's coming up. October hits, and we are looking forward to the new school year. So prepping for our enrollment. And so Kindergarten Coffee, bringing in a new set of students. And so that will be held and talking to families about what their children need to have in readiness and ready for kindergarten and as they come in.
And you have assessment protocols in place?
Sure. Every school really does assessment. Back when I went to school, we called it Kindergarten Roundup, and I went in and had juice with my teacher, and that was fun, and that's what I remember. But it's kind of evolved over the years, and every school does an assessment of some sort. Kids go in and they are doing activities to kind of see where they're at. And that's important because it gives teachers a look at their classroom before they get there to be ready, kind of a look at what they need to prepare for the year and the students coming in and any needs a child might have. So it's no different that we do. We use a Gazelle assessment that looks at the whole child. We want to make sure that every part of that child is ready to walk in the door as a confident learner. It's not just about ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. Those are absolutely important, but social emotional development, language development is just as important, if not a little bit more important than just the knowledge of ABCs and 1, 2, 3. So this assessment gives us a look at their developmental age, where they're at, and if they would be successful at that time. Sometimes if they're not ready, it doesn't mean they're not ready ever. It just means we need to give them another year to grow and mature so that they are going to be lifelong learners and successful in that.
Right. Okay. And to your left, Elizabeth Griffin. You all have, everyone comes here with 20 years minimum experience. Yours has not always been at Sandhills Classical Christian, though.
Correct.
And you're the dean of the lower school.
Yes, sir. So I oversee day-to-day operations, teacher development, work closely with our dean of academics in grades K through 6 every day. This is my first year at Sandhills Classical.
Okay.
I moved to the Pinehurst area last July. I have been in private Christian education, but classical is new to me. I've worked in public and private schools at all age levels, and this has just been really an eye-opening and wonderful experience because I'm getting to see different methodologies and the products of that methodology. So it's been a really great experience, and even things that I may not have been exposed to before in other schools, I'm encountering at Sandhills Classical, and I'm really excited about the things that we're doing.
How is a classical model different from what you were used to?
So a lot of the methodologies that we use in classical education are different. Some are similar, but for example, we teach in something called the trivium, and so we follow students where they are in their developmental stages. So if you come in the lower school, you're going to see in our classical school some things that are different than any other public school or private Christian school or private school in our area. Our students are learning through jingles, through memorization, through song. They're learning a lot about grammar and choral response to their teachers. They do have to sit and attend to a teacher. They do, group work and movement and other ways that students learn in other schools, but the methodologies are just a little bit different, and they really cater to where that child is in their developmental growth. Okay. So it's exciting.
We're going to come back in the second set, and we want to talk a little bit more in depth about the education, how it's broken down. I mean, I've seen firsthand the results, And you have to remember, you're talking to a kid who grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and my number one mission in public school was to hide out and pretend I was invisible and get away with it, much to the chagrin of both my parents. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the second set of All Things Moore County. We're speaking this entire show about the Sandhills Classical and Christian School, and we closed the first set. Elizabeth, you were laying the foundation for the differences between a Christian and a classical Christian education, and Dell, as the head of school, it might be something that you may want to break down a little bit more in detail.
Sure, yeah. When people ask what are some distinctives or unique qualities about Sandhills Classical Christian School or classical Christian education, I like to talk in terms of kind of splitting those two terms, but then they unite at the end. And so from a classical perspective, I like to say that we're not really doing anything new. We're trying to recover something old. That is the method and the way of education that pretty much produced Western civilization. The Michelangelo, Da Vinci, Jonathan Edwards, John Calvin, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington. The great minds and movers and shakers and ideas that have shaped us emanated out of a classical approach to education. And so the fundamental heartbeat, I guess you could say, of a classical education is oriented around what we call the 7 liberal arts. And what that means is the arts having to do with the capacities, and the liberal, not a political agenda, but the libere, meaning free, right? The capacities of a free person. And so those 7 liberal arts are typically referred to as grammar and logic and rhetoric, which we kind of break down into the trivium, and then and they're oriented around capacity and words. And then the quadrivium, or arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and music, typically oriented around capacity and numbers. So literacy and numeracy, right, are at the core of those 7 liberal arts, of those capacities. And so we seek to engender an approach to education that develops capacity in those areas, and that typically also relates and kind of harmonizes with the development of a child through preschool into what we call the grammar stage, right? Grades kindergarten through 5th or 6th grade. They're sponges. And as Elizabeth mentioned, we do a lot of chants and jingles and sound offs to really fill them with a lot of information and data, I guess you could say, and playfully developing and considering a sense of wonder in the world. So you've probably heard in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, right? So a lot of those chants and jingles and sound offs put that information in the heart and mind of a student. And then as they move into middle school age, typically what we might call teenage or adolescent years, they begin to develop that capacity or quality and desire to want to put it together. They ask why a lot, and it can be pretty annoying for a parent, but it's a God-given part of their development. So again, we try to cut with the grain in that realm, in the logic stage, where the subject content continues, but if we go back to Columbus, we're going to not just talk about the fact of the matter that he sailed the ocean blue in 1492. We'll ask what caused him to sail the ocean blue in 1492 and what came from it. So the logic stage, or the putting the information together, is part and parcel and crucial in that stage. We also do a lot of debates, a lot of what what do you think on this particular matter, or what, a position on a particular question. And sometimes the student won't hold that position, but you're going to be, for this position or against that position, so that students have developed the capacity to know what the other person is, on another side of an issue is believes or thinks. And then as they move into the rhetoric stage, or fairly commensurate with high school, they're starting to ask some of the big questions, right? The big metaphysical questions of meaning, of justice, and so forth. Mm-hmm. And again, we want to cut with the grain, so we return back to Columbus and we ask, should he have sailed the ocean blue, right? Questions of ought. And so that permeates the subject areas that we engage. The students have a lot of opportunity to write essays, to give speeches. A lot of our assessments are oral questionings, right? Instead of just writing down on a sheet of paper, you're having a one-on-one conversation with the teacher who will dialogue back and forth on some of the nuances of a particular subject. And then that culminates in their senior year, where our students do a capstone project we call senior thesis. Mm-hmm. And they'll take a topic of their own choosing, approved by the faculty, but they will produce a 15 to 20 page paper looking at the ins and outs, nuances of a particular question, be it, this past year we had a student look at the three particular positions on justice, retributive justice, restorative justice or punitive justice, right? And from a logical and biblical perspective, which one is best, right? And so the students will engage in that, and they'll produce the paper, but then they will also present that paper to an audience of their peers and family and friends and the school community at large, and then also be cross-examined by a panel of faculty. And again, the net result of that is to produce, a good man thinking rightly and living well in that regard.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
For the table. How do you communicate the Cliff Notes version mm-hmm. of what you just said?
Yep.
At a kindergarten coffee,
right.
Which is going to be held on Wednesday, October the 30th at 4 o'clock. Mm-hmm. How do you communicate that to the parents?
Yeah.
In a way that is easily digestible?
I'd say it can come in this phrase: we want to make your child a human being. We want to make your child a human being that is capable in all the aspects of what it means to be human, bearing the image of God. And so we train in numeracy and literacy and those capacities to be a human. I often say we don't fancy ourselves to be a college prep school, although our students, when they graduate, are eminently qualified to perform well in college. Right. And neither do we consider ourselves to be producing or fancy ourselves as producing students who are fit to take up their place in a global economy, although they will. They will do all of those things because the aim of what we're trying to do is to make them fit citizens of a kingdom that has no end. And are thoroughly and completely human in their education.
All right, so Sean, I have a question for
you.
So with the kindergarten coffee coming up, my guess is that the parents take a much more active role in questions, in inquiries on behalf of their child than perhaps in a public school. And you're probably on the receiving end of most of that.
Sure. We're getting inquiries when they're 1 and 2 to get into the preschool to then move on into kindergarten. But sure, we're getting inquiries all the time. And the concerns are they going to be ready? What does my child need to know in order to come to school? Are they prepared? What do we need to do to be there? So they're definitely calling and asking and wanting to know. And this coffee is a great place to come and ask questions. You get to meet the teachers. You get to hear from Mr. Cook You get to see some classrooms, learn about the curriculum, and hear about our assessment process and all the ins and outs of enrolling.
How do you assess?
So my assessment, like I said, it's the Gazelle assessment, and we are looking to see what they know. Of course, we have to have that. And so while I might be asking them to scan a page and point to the letters they know and tell me their name, I'm also looking to see, are they tracking the letters? What order are they doing the letters? Can they sit while they do it, or do they need to stand? Things like that. I might be asking them to write their name. How are they holding their pencil? Okay. I'm looking at small motor skill. I'm looking at, are they writing it backwards or forwards, capital? There's lots of pieces that I'm looking at, and all of those pieces of information I get through all the tasks that we do, they point to development, benchmarks, looking at, a child that sticks their tongue out while they're working. That's a 4-year-old behavior typically, as they're concentrating really hard.
Right.
That's what that gives us. It gives us an overall developmental age. And we know that where a child needs to be successful at SCCS. And, in the community, public schools, per se, they don't have the ability to say to a parent, I don't think Johnny's ready right now. I think he would do best if he took a year of pre-K in order to mature and grow so that he has long-term academic success. They don't have that ability where we have. I think it's a blessing to be able to talk to parents and communicate, this is where they're at. And, it's not a time of holding them back. It is giving that child a leg up so they're going to be long-term confident learners.
Some children are late starters.
Sure.
And so you are like a walking MRI machine.
Right? I guess so.
I mean, you just look right through and you can come up with that judgment, huh?
I feel that way all the time. Shanna, I feel like she sees through me. So, yes, that's great.
It's almost like a sixth sense.
Right.
We're gonna come back in the third set, and there is a question I want to pose to the table because Dell, as you were speaking about the curriculum, how, and this is one for the next set, how does the syllabus of the curriculum square with the challenges of the world of social media and all the noise that is out there that these children are exposed to, that we probably at the table didn't have to deal with when we were of that age? That's a question for the next set. We're speaking with the Sandhills Classical Christian School all about their curriculum, an upcoming event, their kindergarten coffee, which will be held on Wednesday, October the 30th at 4 p.m. on the campus. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our final set of All Things Moore County, speaking all about the Sandhills Classical Christian School. They do have an upcoming event on Wednesday, the 30th of October at 4 p.m. It's a kindergarten coffee. It's the beginning of an assessment process, and we talked a little bit about it in the prior set, and we kind of closed, and Elizabeth, I'll direct this to you. I see children all the time, and they are accosted with stimulation from videos and phones and computers, and the way Dell was laying out the curriculum, that there is a challenge today that didn't exist 10, 15 years ago, where the kids, we live in a soundbite world. There's news, there's computers, there are games, and it just seems like the two are diametrically opposed to one another.
Yeah, so I want to provide a little bit of insight I have, I believe, as a newcomer to Sandhills Classical Christian, and I want to be a stand-in for parents, so to speak, who are not familiar with classical education. The schools that I have worked at in the past, when you walk in the classroom, you find carts of laptops, you find iPads, you find smart boards on the wall, and it's not to say that there aren't benefits of having technology, but when I arrived, I sort of looked around and thought, what technology do we have? What are we using? And have learned since that the classical approach truly does, as Mr. Cook shared, goes back to, our forefathers and the way that we've learned for centuries. We don't necessarily need the technology, and science says that our students are better off and learn to express themselves when they're not staring at screens, when they're not being taught by a computer. So we want to encourage that language expression and that interaction with human beings and not technology. And of course, we all, experience technology in our daily worlds, and our children, when they get home from school, may have iPads, may have television, but that's not something you're going to find in the grammar school at SCCS. Now, as they grow older, we do know that in the modern world, they have to be educated on how to use a computer or take an online class if they choose to go to college. So those skills are developed later, but not in the grammar school. So I would encourage parents to think about that when they're trying to prepare their children for a kindergarten program, specifically a program at SCCS, to not rely on technology and online games to teach your children, but focus on things in the world around you and use items that you have. Use coins to help them count and use one-to-one correspondence as they're counting. Have them learn to measure with kitchen items and, when you're making a recipe in the kitchen. Students learn a lot by recognizing environmental print. And as you're driving down the road and you see the McDonald's sign, and your child can point out a letter in his or her name that's in that sign. Things like that really help children be ready for kindergarten, just those teachable moments. Also want to encourage parents to participate in the single best predictor of academic success for their children, which is reading to them, reading aloud, having the children start with basics when they are toddlers, just holding the book and knowing how to turn the page left to right, and pointing out the pictures and talking through the story just by looking at pictures is a pre-reading skill. So doing things like that instead of putting them on devices or technology is really going to benefit them in the long run.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Growing up, I got hit in the back of the head when my father would introduce me to somebody and I wasn't making eye contact. That was my education. But today it's the exception rather than the rule, where some of the kids, where they don't have good eye contact. And when the children do, they're an exception. They stand out. And once you have that eye contact, you're immediately drawn to that child to communicate. I think it's almost like it reassures and encourages, and they're present. Yes. Some kids, I don't see that they're always present. They're kind of hiding out, like me, like I used to do.
I'd say one other
Dell?
item on there was, the value of play cannot be overestimated. As a child, as growing up, and letting them have opportunities to just play with sticks. Right, because sticks and stones, not to break bones, but to play and to have space for the imagination to develop and grow, rather than having it, placed and spoon fed into the mind of a youngster. It's invaluable in their development.
It's actually a benchmark for kindergarten readiness. Is that children have the ability to play. Play is so important, and putting children in front of devices, the play is lost. And in our preschool world, we're teaching children to play these days. So it's actually a benchmark.
They're interacting with the environment in front of them.
Correct.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And making something of it. Right? Yeah.
And they're learning so many of those social skills that you don't learn when you're on the device. Part of going outside to recess is learning how to resolve a conflict with a friend who wants the ball that you have, or learning how to play with a doll or a stuffed animal in preschool is learning skills that benefit us later in life when we're nurturing our own children. So there's so much benefit to play, and we try to keep that as a focus. I think we are known for a rigorous curriculum, but we very much want to focus on the heart of the child and where they are developmentally. And in the grammar school and especially kindergarten, a lot of that focuses around play.
You also are becoming very well known for your athletic endeavors, the involvement in athletics, which I don't think existed as much 7 years ago.
Yeah, it's with the growth of the school numerically and in enrollment, the opportunities for athletic involvement have come along as well, and so we've been blessed to be able to build an arts and athletics center on the campus, and then have field access for athletics in each of the three major seasons, from football to volleyball to soccer to cross country, basketball, track and field. And so, yeah, it affords students a good opportunity to learn the lessons that are unique and, connected in athletics. I like to say, as I mentioned, I'm the football coach, and I like to say that athletics is just a lab of life.
Right.
And it squeezes you, and then who you are comes out.
Yeah. How many students have you had who have graduated, who have started from the very beginning and gone through the whole number of years?
Yes, so there are a few. So our graduating classes are still pretty small as
Right.
we've had those groups begin to move through. But I would say, I don't know for certain the exact number, but I would say of our graduates, of our alumni, I would say around 5 have been students that conducted every day of their education from kindergarten through 12th grade at Sandhills Classical Christian.
Right.
So
I think in 5 years from now, that number is going to change dramatically.
I think so. Yeah,
Right.
we're excited to see that. It's a real blessing when you can a student can say that.
And the physical campus looks like a small junior college.
We are blessed with an embarrassment of riches. God
Right.
has really given us a beautiful 60-acre campus that we've been able to develop and continue to work on, and we're really just humbled by the blessings that have accrued to us through the years to be able to do that. The buildings, to be sure, we also just finished an intermediary space, courtyard that connects all the different buildings, and at the center is a cross, which anchors us with regard to who we are and what we're about, and what's at the heart of what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. I have a question. Growing up, I always remembered middle school classes being the most difficult time for kids, boys and girls, right between, getting out of 6th grade, and they weren't in high school yet, and the most challenging for the teachers. How do you deal with the middle school years compared to other schools? I just remember what a tumultuous time.
Right. I've said this before. I'm in my 25th year of education, and I've talked to people who talk about the best times of their life, and college, best 4 years of my life. High school was great, but I've never talked to anyone who said 8th grade, man.
Right.
I would love to do that again.
Right.
Because who does, right? Because so much is going on, and it's very much a thing that we want to be aware of as we navigate and walk through that age of opportunity with a child. A lot of times we kind of view those years as years to be survived, but we really don't want that to be the case. We want those to be years that we thrive, right, as they grow in from childhood into adulthood. And what we try to do is really treat those students as adults. We have this tripartite breakdown of childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. But I like to express to the folks that from a scriptural perspective, the Bible really talks about children and adults, right? And it has precious little to do with how old a person is. Children tend to consume more than they create. And adults tend to create more than they consume, and so we try to hold the standard and picture and vision in front of our 8th grade, 7th grade, adolescent students of you can be an adult. You can move into that and grow into that today. You don't have to be in a holding pattern, waiting until 18 comes along. Go ahead and today start creating more than you consume. Live for others, and grow into that. Usually, it's I would like to be considered an adult. Well, we'll just be that, and people will. Right.
So, is the middle school an opportunity to start to shift responsibility to the student?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and we try to create spaces for them to take on leadership, right? And be leaders and take responsibility and
right.
and grow into that. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about what's coming up this fall season, holiday season. Any special events beyond the kindergarten coffee? Things that you're looking forward to as you move through the end of 2024?
Sure. So yeah, our obviously our kindergarten coffee that we want to again, hey, here's on that one, right? October 30th. Otherwise, our move through we're moving into second quarter coming up. We operate in a quarter mode, about 9 weeks on, and then a 2-week break in between those. So our big push, I guess, for second quarter will be that kindergarten coffee to develop in those ways. We're also going to be providing a service opportunity for our school, our entire school, the Friday before Thanksgiving, right? The Friday before Thanksgiving, whatever date that is. And it's called Feed the Need, and so we'll be producing 30,000 meals from the school to be able to minister to hunger needs across the nation and the world.
That's great to know, because the kids have to realize there's a world out there that's going on. I'm very impressed with your website. It's comprehensive. There are a lot of questions I'm sure parents will have, but so much of the information that they would want to gather, they could do prior to the 30th of October. And they probably have already absorbed a lot of that, but your website it's quite nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if people do want to go to your website, how will they? Where do they go? Where do they reach out?
They can reach
Elizabeth.
They can reach our website at www.sandhillsccs.org.
Right.
And we're excited to have a new section added to our website to give more information about our preschool. And we really invite parents to explore that website and reach out to any of the deans or any of the administrators with questions they may have. We're very accessible and eager to talk to people and let them know more about our school.
Yeah. And having boots on the ground in the community, I can tell you that a lot of the parents who come to an event like this on the 30th, part of it is a reputation of the school, but a lot of it are the parents who have children in the school already. It's word of mouth.
Sure.
And there's such a demand for good education, and it's as important as job creation in Moore County. What about the integrity of the schools? So you guys are making some big strides, and you're raising students who make great eye contact.
That's the goal.
Amen.
That's a good goal to have. So I wish you the best of. I hope you have a great turnout. Again, the kindergarten coffee is Wednesday, the 30th of October at 4 p.m. It's the day before Halloween.
That's right.
You'll have a lot of jazzed up kids.
Yes, we will.
Shanna, thank you for joining us. Elizabeth, thank you for joining us. And Dell, it's always good to see you.
Pleasure.
And hope to continue to have a conversation with you as we proceed through the years.
Anytime.
This is All Things Moore County. Have a great week.